This I know. This I know.
The wounded warrior has all the power of regeneration. Being on the life path of 9, the black sheep of the family, purging old energies of ancestral patterns and monetary lack has been what my life has been all about. I have ancestors that have come through that have basically let me know that I am the chosen one to remove and purge through me a lot of generational patterns, particularly with incest and poverty consciousness. Wounded warrior holds the power of regeneration. You know, oneness is very personal right now. I got that from Lee Harris. If you don't know of Lee Harris, go find out because he's amazing. A lot of free content. Very generous with what he offers, as well as his portal offerings. But I got that from Lee Harris. Oneness is very personal right now. Oneness is very personal right now. And wow, is it ever? And when we hear that, it, for me at least, it gives me permission to use my spirituality in the way that serves me for that moment. And there's a moment that I want to talk to you about. I said I was going to do a video about December 23rd when I had emergency surgery. And so this is the video that's following that. I had an obstructed bowel that happened because of an old hernia injury from when I was weightlifting. I've always been in the fitness industry, fitness and healing arts industries, parallel simultaneously. And I was getting ready for a weightlifting competition when I had an injury where I created a hernia. And I also fractured some vertebrae and created like a spondylolisthesis, which is an instability of the spine slipping forward towards the spinal cord. It was quite severe. I couldn't walk for a total of 4 months. I went away to heal. I was a young mother at the time. I even left my son and daughter to go heal for the summer. Anyway, this thing decided to cause me some trouble on December 23rd and obstruct my bowels. So I was lucky enough that there was a surgeon on call at the time, and the whole experience was about pain and suffering and just inescapable pain, in that after the anesthesia wore off, I didn't want to go on any more pain medication because the process of 4 or 5 days of purging that pain medication from my body was excruciating, particularly to do with migraines, because of my structural issues in my cervical spine, and my nervous system is extremely sensitive. So I knew that I needed to ride this wave without any kind of pain medications whatsoever. So it wasn't so much the incident that was painful, although that was very painful. It was more about purging this medication from my body that was more of a pain that was debilitating for me anyway. So because my finger is always on the pulse of the higher mind, this is again a conversation about the higher mind, I found myself home with my beloved children taking care of me and cooking, and I was able to heal very, very quickly because I had so much great care around me. I really had an experience of awakening to my higher mind, very much like the one in Peru that happened in 2020, September of 2020. I will talk about that one. This is one comparable to when I was in Peru. So basically the higher self said that, well, kiddo, you got yourself backed in a corner. Now what are you going to do? Meaning you're seeing all these osteopaths for all these years and all these other people and healing modalities to help heal the body. When are you going to let the higher mind take over? Leading up to the incident of the obstructive bowel, I had been getting very clear messages that the higher mind was kind of like, at this point, getting annoyed. Like, when are you going to let me help? And it didn't make any sense because I had asked for help at certain points. I had had my moments, and I would hear the word okay in response, and then literal subluxations being fixed, and adjustments, and bones cracking, and involuntary movements of the head. This has happened a couple of times. So I knew, this is just one example. I knew this was real. I've always been trying to walk the talk. Anything that I do that helps people is always coming from my personal experience, 90% of the time. And when it's not, it's coming from someone I know's experience, like another client. So anyway, leading up to this, it was already becoming, I was already getting that knock on the door. You have to let me take over now. You're depleting your finances by empowering, giving your power away by letting all these other people take care of you. And don't get me wrong, this was very necessary, especially when I was really in the midst of my MS while not even knowing about my MS. So I'd gotten into this addiction pattern of healing myself through the help of others. So I was in a spot now where I didn't have access to that, and I had to give it over to my higher power to take care of me. And while that was happening, I knew that I had gotten myself into a corner so that I could actually step through the threshold to actually receive my healing. Like, because I'm in a one cycle now. I've just ended an old cycle of on this particular life path. And this sort of way of being on a healing path is now ended for me. So I knew instinctively, I also knew that I was being upgraded. My health was being upgraded through this hernia episode, an obstructed bowel situation. So my understanding is that they had me still enough. I couldn't move. Like, I had to brush my teeth. I mean, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't sit up. The pain was so bad. I mean, I would get up and I would run to go to the bathroom and do what I had to do barely, and then just go lie down again. It lasted a good solid 5 days like that. And I was purging just so many, it was like the ghost of Christmas past. I was just going through all of my life events. And very similar to a QHHT session that can happen during the regression part. It was just like that. And I was just seeing all these ancestral faces coming and going, and they were just coming and showing themselves to me. And I could hear the higher self says, they're coming to you because your light quotient is raising. They can actually see you. So they're coming to you because they can see you. And so I was just guided to bless them and let them come and go. And to be honest with you, I was in so much pain, I could have cared less. Like, it was disturbing, but I was, you know what it's like when you're uncomfortable and something's happening. It's like, it's easy not to get into the fight or flight of one thing when you're when you're distracted by another. So this is what was happening. And it was very clear, okay, the wheel of having others taking care of my body was going to come right to pretty much a screeching halt for a while. And I just allowed everything to unfold. And what I really, really got that was so clear in that process is that my ego was dying a death. This is not the first time that this has happened, but this is certainly another layer of what had gone on before. And I became so acutely aware that my soul had chosen my ego and that my spirit was allowing it to have the life. And that it was beginning to be forced to reckon with itself, in that it was like, you need to take up less space now. There's more light energy coming in to embody the body, my body, and the life.